Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, this is going to be a remaster, not quite a re-upload, of the most exciting fighters tier list. The only reason that I am doing a remaster of this one is because it is quite possibly the worst tier list I've ever put on this channel. It is full of L takes, but easily the worst one out of the entire video was I put Yuri Prochazka in B tier for exciting. Honestly, yeah, that take alone is what made me want to make a whole nother video. Now, to explain myself, okay, the criteria itself was just flawed. I fucked up on the criteria. What the criteria was I took their press conference appearance, their fighting ability, and their social media game, put it all together, and that is what made an exciting fighter. When what I really should have done is just made a separate video for press conference performance and fighter exciting ability in the octagon. That's what I did in the most boring fighters tier list, which completely fixed what the criteria was, so I decided I wanted to remaster this one. I don't plan on remastering a ton of tier lists. This will probably be the only one that I do for a long time, but I just want to do that. Give me the ability to redeem myself, and thank you everybody who continues to watch my content. We are almost to 10,000 subscribers. Thank you everybody who supports it. And with that brief intro out of the way, I just want to get into this and redeem myself here. We're going to start with Yuri Prochazka. I want to right my wrongs right away. I'm turning up the brightness on this thing. I want to right my wrongs right away. Yuri Prochazka is an A+. Not maybe even an S tier, but I don't want to do an S tier this early on in the video. Yuri Prochazka is an A+. You see, the reason that I put him in B tier the last video is because, I'm just going to be real here, Yuri Prochazka adds absolutely nothing to any press conference he's in. Yuri Prochazka has zero press conference aura. However, when he's in the octagon, I legitimately can't name one boring Yuri Prochazka fight. This man made Rakic damn near a fight of the night. And people were worried that Rakic versus Yuri was going to be an extremely boring performance because Rakic is a point fighter. Yuri Prochazka came in there, made that a fight of the night. Did the same thing with Dominic Reyes. Has done the same thing with everybody he's ever fought. He made Glover Teixeira one of the greatest championship fights ever. Even his Alex Pereira fight was an entertaining fight until he got slumped. Yuri Prochazka is an A+, and he is the reason I made this video genuinely, as I felt like I wronged him. A+, no questions asked. Next up, we got Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira is another one of those guys, adds nothing to a press conference. Fighting ability, however, not quite at the level of a Yuri Prochazka. Now, hear me out. Let me just say this. Alex Pereira has a smidgen of the point fighter syndrome. It is very, very rare, but it will cost him an A+. It might get him an A-. That's why he's not beating out Yuri Prochazka here. Because if there is somebody that is really close in kickboxing ability to him, he is going to take that kickboxing point fighting approach. Israel Adesanya was one of those guys until he got clipped. It was kind of a point fighting match because he respected the pedigree of Israel Adesanya. As much as I like Yuri is a guy that does leave his chin up in the air, and I think when Alex Pereira knew that, that's when he was going to take more risk and make an exciting fight. Same thing with Jamal Hill. He did not respect Jamal Hill. I think that was the closest to an angry Alex Pereira will ever get, and that's what he did to Jamal. When he respects his opponent's pedigree, he will make it a more of a tactical point fighting matchup until a mistake is made, but everybody else, he will make it an entertaining performance. He couldn't finish Bruno Silva. I'm sorry. That alone is impressive. But I'm going to put it A- to A to A-. That's what I'll say for him. Next up, Cory Sandhagen. Listen, the Rob Font fight puts him down. I think B+. I think B+ is a fair placement, honestly. The Cory Sandhagen versus Rob Font fight is pretty bad. The Chito Vera fight was somewhat lackluster. I think the judges were just huffing some copium. But other than that, Cory Sandhagen actually has a lot of really good fights. That's what puts him in that B+. But I'm not going to lie to you. Rob Font, horrible. Chito Vera, mid. But other than that, Cory Sandhagen versus Petr Yan is probably one of my all-time favorite fights I've ever seen in the sport. Yeah, I'm going to put him B+. He's on that A line, but not quite there. I might put him up by the end of the video, but I'm going to say B+ is valid. Next up, we got Petr Yan. I'll put Petr Yan right next to Cory Sandhagen because I think the problem with Petr Yan is he kind of has to fight a 5-round fight. Genuinely. I think it should be illegal for Petr Yan to fight any other type of fight other than a 5-round main event. Like, put him on a fight night. I think his team is doing him a disservice by giving him 3-round fights. If I am on the management team of Petr Yan, I am lobbying for a 5-round fight night main event whenever he's fighting, because 5 rounds is when he does his best work. I do believe if he did 5 rounds against Sean O'Malley, he would have been able to get the decision win. I think if he did 5 rounds, he would have had a more convincing win against Song Yadong. Like, I chose Song Yadong to beat Petr Yan purely because it was 3 rounds. Genuinely. And I think when we look at Petr Yan versus Cory Sandhagen, that is, again, one of my favorite fights ever. And that is what's going to put him in that B+ category. I think that's a valid take, honestly. Ilia Topuria. Okay. Ilia Topuria, honestly, at this point, might be an A-. He's objectively a super entertaining guy to see fight. Like, name an Ilia Topuria fight that was not entertaining. Like, I had, like, the Bryce Mitchell fight, it's a really good fight. The Josh Emmett fight is a great fight. Volkanovski, great fight. Like, he has consistently had great performances that are just entertaining to watch. He's an entertaining guy. Like, I think that's going to take him farther than his trash talk, is just the fact that he doesn't really have to hype up his performances because you're going to see a masterclass when it comes to, like, striking within the pocket. That's how he was able to get out Volkanovski. Ilia Topuria's grappling is also really top-notch. When I saw the Bryce Mitchell fight, listen, when I found out that Bryce Mitchell and Ilia Topuria were fighting, I instantly thought to myself, well, Bryce Mitchell's dead. There was, like, to me, that was the easiest money you could have made in betting for a very long time. Bryce Mitchell had almost 0 pathways to victory there. I think Ilia is a better defensive grappler than Bryce Mitchell is. Bryce Mitchell is more of a, like, they call it like a flowy grappler, like he more floats on top of you until he can find a submission. It's less imposing his will and more manipulating somebody's will into getting them into a position. Ilia Topuria is the exact opposite. He'll grapple just to impose a position on you. That's how he was able to get that head and arm choke off that clean judo throw. Beautiful. And then his striking is just, like, honestly, yeah, A tier. I don't know why I'm still justifying it. A tier. Joaquin Buckley. I will put him. Understand, I've been watching Joaquin Buckley for a minute. Buckley is definitely a sleeper pick when we're talking about the most entertaining fighters. Definitely not an A tier. I'm not going to put him in an A tier. But Buckley has the Chandler syndrome, bro. He will do the least, like, tactical option. The lowest fight IQ option. If it works out, people are like, look how great he is. If it doesn't work out, we're like, fucking Buckley has low fight IQ. But it's always entertaining. Like, I have to think about a bad Buckley fight. Like, he had one decision a while back. But, like, he won the 3rd round against Nasruddin Imavov. Like, I think when people watch that fight back, like, it is kind of surprising. Don't get me wrong. Nasruddin made the fight boring. Buckley was piecing up Nasruddin on the feet in the 3rd. And Nasruddin Imavov is a massive human being. And after that fight, I was convinced Joaquin Buckley can never fight at 185 again, go down to 170. But since he's at 170, granted, they're not against the highest caliber of opponents, except for Vicente Luque, and even the Uzbekistani wasn't terrible. I'm going to put him at B-. I think he earns a spot at a B-. I think a few more wins over a few more high-caliber opponents, or even just entertaining fights against some high-caliber opponents, I'll put him up in A tier, honestly. Next up, Derrick Lewis. Above a Joaquin Buckley, and I'm going to say... can I put him above Petr Yan? Understand, the reason that I'm hesitant around it, yeah, I'll put him at a, okay. Let me go through my justification and then I'll place him. Derrick Lewis has entertaining fights at heavyweight. There is a difference between having an entertaining fight at heavyweight than any other division. That is a fact. I think we can, when the Weasel, TJ loves fights, and a lot of these big MMA YouTubers we are all agreeing that heavyweight is a trash, dog water division that is ran by blobs. I think we can all agree that there's a difference in skill here. There is a crazy difference between the skill of the top 5 and literally anybody else in that division. Derrick Lewis has entertaining fights for that division against a Brazilian Uber driver. I get it. Grind is a grind. I got to bring that up. And then Derrick Lewis has a win over Francis and probably one of the worst. He has one of the worst fights I've ever seen, and I've made a tier list on that. He has one of the worst fights I've ever seen. But it's one bad fight. It really is. It's one bad fight. B plus. I might move him up. I might move him up. B plus. I think that's fair. You know what? A minus. A minus is valid. I'll do it there. He has one bad fight. Come on. And against Jailton Almeida. Almeida's just terrible. It is what it is. Ciryl Gane. B tier. B tier. I think B tier is valid for Ciryl Gane. Honestly. I think that's a valid take. He's an entertaining heavyweight. Very little grappling. But I'm sorry, him beating up on Sergey Spivak is probably one of top 10 worst beatings I've seen. There's a point where he drills to his ribs and you can see his floating rib break. He is an entertaining guy to watch fight. Tai Tuivasa versus Ciryl Gane is probably one of my favorite heavyweight fights. Just because it's a fun fight. I think B tier is a very valid placement for him. I really do. Rafael Fiziev. Justin Gaethje, but Justin Gaethje is just a super entertaining guy. I think that it's not hard to have an entertaining fight against him. The Gamrot fight was good while it lasted. I don't want to put another B tier. You know what? Fine. I think we're going to be putting some more C tiers in, so I think we're okay with this. I think he's a less entertaining Ciryl Gane. It's less entertaining Ciryl Gane. That's the best that I could say. Khamzat Chimaev. You can dislike Khamzat. You can't deny that he is probably one of the most entertaining grapplers in the UFC right now. That's just a fact. I'm sorry. The Kamaru Usman fight is objectively a super entertaining fight. The Gilbert Burns fight, objectively entertaining. A fight of the year contender. It is. It was a fight of the year contender. You can't disregard how entertaining Khamzat Chimaev is just because you don't like the guy. And this is coming from a person. I have made lots of videos being very critical of Khamzat Chimaev's career choices, and I've received death threats from his fans. I have every reason to trash talk the guy, and I can't deny that he is an entertaining fighter. A tier. Valid. Actually, I might put him above Derrick Lewis just because Khamzat Chimaev has more consistent entertaining fights. Next up, Dricus du Plessis, C tier. Yeah, I'm putting somebody in C tier. Is anybody really going to get mad at me for that? Dricus du Plessis, they're just not. They just don't have that oomph to them. That. I think he can get it. I think the Robert Whittaker, Robert Whittaker fight was a B tier level fight, honestly. The Strickland fight was good, but I think it was good because that was probably the most aggressive I've ever seen Strickland. So I can't give it completely to Dricus here. The Derek Brunson fight was entertaining because it looked like two sloppy guys just wailing on each other. But other than that, I think C tier is a pretty valid placement for Dricus, in all honesty. I'll move down Buckley with Dricus. I think that, Buckley down to Dricus level in terms of entertainment. I think that's good. Next up, Sean O'Malley. Okay. The Petr Yan fight was pretty good. I'm going to say pretty good, not quite an A tier level performance. The Aljamain fight was pretty good. He has great performances, but he's getting dangerously close to becoming a point fighter. Okay, he is. He really is becoming dangerously close to becoming that point fighter. I'm going to say B+. I think he's a little bit more entertaining Cory Sandhagen, honestly. I think... Actually... Yeah, I think B tier, and B tier around Cory Sandhagen. The Chito Vera fight, honestly, I predicted the Chito Vera fight. My two predictions that I am the most proud of in my content creation career is the Ilia Topuria Volkanovski fight and the Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera fight. I predicted those fights relatively exact. I said Ilia Topuria was going to get his timing down in the first, and by the second round, he was going to get a TKO. That's what happened. For Sean O'Malley, I said that he was going to take it to a very one-sided 5-round decision win against Chito Vera, and he was going to hurt him once. And I was right. Sean O'Malley has some of the best distance management I have ever seen, but that doesn't, this isn't always entertaining. It's not. I'm sorry. Is it high fight IQ? Yes, there's a difference between a high fight IQ and entertainment. There are some people that can fill that well. Sean O'Malley, I think B tier is valid. I do think that's pretty valid. I'll move Rafael Fiziev down just so we have some better placement, and I'll move Yuri Prochazka up to S tier. I'm not liking the dispersal here. I think I'm going to have to be harder on here. I think I'm going to have to be more difficult on how I'm separating these. But just know, a C tier on here makes, objectively, if you're on here, you are considered an entertaining fighter. Okay, just anybody who's a Dricus du Plessis fan and you want to crucify me, just know that. I'm calling him entertaining. But Yuri Prochazka, I've thought about it enough. S tier, I think that's valid. Conor McGregor. If he can't finish you in the first round, it's going to a decision. That's if I'm going to be extremely hard on the dude, very critical, if Conor McGregor can't finish you in the first round, it's going to a decision and he's probably going to lose. But I can't deny he probably has some of the best first round performances I've seen in a minute. The Khabib fight is objectively pretty entertaining. Donald Cerrone's good. Eddie Alvarez is one of the best championship performances. Same thing with the Jose Aldo fight. I'm going to put Conor McGregor, honestly, you can make a solid argument for an A tier. I can't name a boring fight that he had, genuinely. And I'm going to put him, I'll put him above an Ilia Topuria. I can't name a boring fight he had. There was moments of the Dustin Poirier fight that were kind of boring, but I can't take him down that much because of, I just can't. I'm going to put him in A tier. Max Holloway, S tier. Yeah, S tier. S tier is valid. S tier is valid. Now that I think about it, I can't put him above Yuri. Yuri has entertaining fights with absolutely anybody, but Max Holloway, Calvin Kattar's a great fight. Brian Ortega's a great fight. I think if you're going to look at boring fights that he had, you're going to have to go pretty far back in his career, and I think he's reinvented himself as a fighter since then. He had that crazy win streak after he lost to Conor McGregor that lasted, how many years? I don't even know how many years. That lasted a while. Volkanovski fights were good, except for the second one was pretty, that was a weird one. Entertaining fights, honestly. Maybe even the third fight, I'm going to put him in S tier, honestly. I think S tier is a valid take for Max Holloway. Justin Gaethje, another S tier. I would actually say Justin Gaethje's more entertaining than Max Holloway, and I might even say more entertaining than Yuri. Justin Gaethje has some of the most fight of the night performances I've ever seen. He might hold the record for that in terms of consistency. I know Charles Oliveira has the most bonuses, but Oliveira has more boring performances, than Justin Gaethje has. I mean, is anybody going to disagree with me putting Justin Gaethje in S tier? His nickname is literally The Highlight. People call him the most entertaining fighter ever. And honestly, if I'm getting people invested into the sport, that might be a whole new video in of itself, fights that I would recommend to people to get into MMA. Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler is a great fight. Cory Sandhagen versus Petr Yan is another fight, and I might do another Justin Gaethje fight. The Max Holloway fight, I will admit, was pretty boring up until the finish, outside of a few exchanges. But other than that, I'm going to say S tier. Michael Chandler. S. S tier, bro. I'm doing another S tier. I kind of have to do. When I talk about Joaquin Buckley has the Chandler syndrome, Chandler was the dude that it's named after. For anybody who's new to the channel, why do I keep on saying Chandler syndrome? I think I'm the guy who coined it. I don't know. I haven't heard it before I started saying it. The Chandler syndrome is when you have a perfect game plan to finish a fight, having a legit wrestling pedigree that you can beat Dustin Poirier with, and you arguably could have beaten Dustin Poirier multiple times when you could just go for a simple fucking single leg, and, Dustin Poirier is going to eventually go for that guillotine that he's going to miss over and over again, and you can ground and pound your way to a victory and win the fight. Or, when you obviously know he's sinking in a rear naked choke, instead of, trying to throw punches back, fight the wrist. That is Michael Chandler. Somebody who has a legit wrestling pedigree that just says, I'm a monkey. I'm going to throw punches ground and pound style. Yeah, S tier. In terms of entertainment, I kind of have to put him there. There's no boring Chandler fight. Every fight that he's in, he does some of the most low fight IQ things just to be entertaining. He could have become champion against Charles Oliveira. You can make a case that the referee could have stopped the fight, but I'm happy he didn't. Yeah, S tier. I think that's, if you disagree with me that Chandler is an S tier entertainment fighter, I don't know what your criteria is, honestly. Charles Oliveira, A tier, more entertaining. I would put Charles Oliveira slightly beneath Ilia Topuria. No, I'll put him above Ilia. I'm sorry. Charles Oliveira. Yarman Sarukian fight was low-key B tier. Probably B, C plus tier. The problem is Charles Oliveira is one of the most entertaining grapplers, has a lot of fight of the night bonus. Actually, keep him above Ilia, honestly. Keep him above Ilia. It's valid. He's another dude that has the grappling pedigree that he does, but insists on being a super entertaining fighter. And I think that's honestly something pretty commendable. He pulls off the Chandler syndrome, but pulls it off where it's not quite Chandler syndrome. It's more of like the Oliveira syndrome, where he's good most places, but we're in a place where he's not better than his opponent, he'll still engage with them just to make it a little bit more entertaining, secure the bonus. Like striking with Dustin Poirier, where he got dropped. Like, he gets dropped in every fight. Like, I swear, he gets a +5 stat boost every time he gets dropped. Dustin Poirier, speaking of him, I'm gonna have to start moving people down. Dustin Poirier's an entertaining guy. He is. When I name entertaining Dustin Poirier fights, though, I'm naming the Michael Chandler fight. I'm naming Max Holloway. I'm naming Justin Gaethje. So I'm naming people that are super entertaining. I really am. So is it really him that's having these? Like, I'm not saying that he should be super down on here, but putting him in S tier, I think, is a little bit overzealous. I think a low A tier. I think a low A tier is pretty valid for a take. I think this is a decent placement for the guy. He's definitely up in the upper echelon of entertainment. When I see Dustin Poirier is on a fight card, I will be tuning in because I do think you're going to be getting some good entertainment value out of it. But putting him in S tier, I think, is a little bit overzealous. Yeah, I think that's a good placement. Paulo Costa, B tier, B plus. I think B plus. He does low fight IQ, but he makes his fights entertaining. The Yoel Romero fight is one of my all-time favorite fights, B plus. I think his only boring fights are literally fights that I just can't name. Honestly, I think B plus definitely in this current era. Like, it hurts when he can't fight because he's an entertaining guy. The Robert Whittaker fight, he made that a fun fight. I think he's going to make Strickland a super entertaining fight. I think B plus, I think he just narrowly missed the mark of A tier. To be A tier now, you have to beat out Paulo Costa. That's what we're going to do. Israel Adesanya. Okay, let's be nice. What are the good Adesanya fights, okay? Contender Adesanya was an animal. Adesanya's a point fighter. He just is. Marvin Vettori fight was pretty mid. It was. Marvin Vettori fight was mid. The Strickland fight, it was shocking because Strickland was winning the fight so handedly. The Pereira fights were good. The second Robert Whittaker fight wasn't that good. Like, he's entertaining. But if we're going to compare him to the most entertaining fighters in the UFC, I'm actually going to put Fiziev down a bit. I'm going to put Fiziev in D tier, actually, now that I think about it. And I'm going to put Israel Adesanya top of C tier. Wait. Adesanya's such a tough fighter to place, dude. He really is, because 1 second he's putting on great performances like he did against Paulo Costa and Alex Pereira. The other times he's having a Yoel Romero. The Yoel Romero fight I put in one of the worst fights ever, but I did the same thing with Derrick Lewis, but Derrick Lewis can at least pull off more entertaining KOs than Adesanya can. But it's tough to compare him to Buckley when Buckley isn't fighting the highest level of competition. So it is going to be a tough one to place. I'm going to put Dricus. No, Dricus. Yeah. Damn, bro. This is tough, actually. Okay. Dricus du Plessis above Joaquin Buckley purely based off competition. But Buckley puts on some of the most consistently entertaining fights. Adesanya, I'm going to put C tier purely because, I'm sorry, it's a mixed bag on what you're getting. Yeah, I think that's valid. Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think you're getting what... I think more entertaining than Ciryl Gane. I think more entertaining than Petr Yan. More entertaining than a Cory Sandhagen. And I think he's in that Costa level of entertainment. The fact is that you don't know what you're going to get with a Shavkat performance in terms of, is he going to grapple the dude, is he going to submit him, or is he going to KO the guy? Shavkat Rakhmonov, and plus he has that aura of 100% finish rate. Like, Costa is a bit more entertaining when he fights, but Shavkat doesn't even speak English, but he has a fan base because people want to see what he's able to do. If he's able to get a good finish against Della Maddalena, I'll put him up into that A tier category. But until then, I'm gonna settle with a B tier for now. B tier for now. Yeah, because if I see any of these guys on a card, I will tune in for them more than I'll tune in for a Shavkat, and I'll say that this will probably be a fight of the night. Michel Pereira, he's just trying to be entertaining. You have to put him in A tier. You do. Like, there's no arguing that he can't be an A tier. Like, the only reason I'm not putting him in S tier is, to me, he hasn't fought enough high caliber opponents. He does some of the most unnecessary bullshit in his fights, such as doing a backflip to pass guard and throwing a knee that, honestly, you can get DQ'd for. But damn, is he fun to watch fight? A tier. No questions asked. I think that's, yeah, no questions. Edson Jr. Barboza. He had a good fight against Sadiq Youssef, and a legend of the sport. Honestly, we could be here all day naming off people on his resume. He has some of the craziest KOs too, dude. I'm actually going to move Derrick Lewis down. I'm moving Derrick Lewis down. And I'm going to move Edson Barboza. Is he an A tier, though? I think people forget how entertaining Edson Barboza is, because he's not in that title picture anymore. But I think it's perfectly valid to put him in A tier. I really do. I'll move Michel Pereira above Dustin Poirier. Yes, I think this is good. I think this is good. Jack Della Maddalena, B tier. Not C tier. I'll put him in C tier. The more I think about it, the lower he goes, honestly. He's a good striker inside the pocket. He had a boring fight against Gilbert Burns outside of a few exchanges. The Kevin Holland fight was good, but it was more of anticipation of what we were going to get from, you know what, Jack Della Maddalena. Yeah, Jack Della Maddalena C tier, honestly. I think that is a valid take. C tier. Jack Della Maddalena. If he can finish Shavkat Rakhmonov, I'll move him up to B tier, but until then, every time I watch a Jack Della Maddalena fight, I just need a little bit of oomph coming from him. A little bit more. He's objectively entertaining and in that upper echelon, but he's not quite here yet. Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland has a win over Joaquin Buckley and is now ranked beneath him. It's kind of funny. Okay. I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion. When Kevin Holland is starting to lose a fight, he'll silently quit the fight, and then it becomes boring. The Jack Della Maddalena fight, Jack Della Maddalena was the one pushing the tempo, but Kevin Holland is really just here to make money. Like, he'll take any short notice fight that he can in order to make that money. I think, honestly, Joaquin Buckley will do some of the dumbest shit you can do in a fight just to make it entertaining. Kevin Holland, when he feels like he's losing a fight, will play more tactically. The MVP fight was not as entertaining as I thought it was going to be. I'm going to put him in D tier. I gotta be hard on the guy. I gotta put him down. I'm sorry, I gotta have to. Yair Rodriguez. He's fun to watch fight. The Jeremy Stevens fight was just disappointing because of how quickly it ended. I think he is a dude, no matter where it goes in the fight, and unless he's fighting Brian Ortega, he'll put on a great performance. It's fun to watch. I think he's like the featherweight Ciryl Gane, honestly. Ciryl Gane is a super entertaining kickboxer for heavyweight. I think that I'm going to put him in B tier, B-. As far as dispersal, is there anything that I would change before I finalize this? Well, we're already better than the last time I did this. Already better. The D tier, again, this is a tough one for me, but just know, and as I'm not saying they're D tier for the entirety of the UFC, but I'm saying when we're talking about the most entertaining fighters in the UFC, I would think is Rafael Fiziev and Kevin Holland as an intro to entertaining fighters. If you keep that in mind, I think this is a pretty valid tier list and overwhelmingly better than the last one that I made. Overall, I'm kind of glad I made this one. Thank you, everybody who's watching this video. Thank you guys for the support with the likes, comments, and everything. If you enjoy this channel, please consider a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We're about to get to 10,000 subscribers, and I'm still working on the 10K special. If you have an idea for it, put it in the comment section, or go into the Discord in the description down below and put it in there. And with all that out of the way, have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you all next time.